Hey folks, Rhonda here. Um, I wanted to send some, or share, excuse me, some feedback after the first 60K I ever participated in, the Black Canyon Ultra. It was, wow, such a learning experience. Looking a little rough around the edges today, but I apologize for that. A little residual tiredness still throughout the body, but we started at Mare High School, and I think it was like 23-ish degrees, pretty chilly. And the first 7 miles were extremely challenging. It was very icy, and the entire landscape was filled with crevices of feet marks that were frozen, left over from the 100K the night before, or the day before, excuse me, and it had rained and snowed, and it was, for those folks running the 100K, kudos to you all, because that was quite a challenge. A little bit of snow, a little bit of ice, a little bit of rain, a little bit of sun, all the elements. So I followed the live stream that day, and I cleaned my whole house and had it on the TV or on my phone and just followed the whole adventure, and honestly was feeling kind of thankful that I didn't sign up for that. And I had contemplated it, but since I had only done a 50K, I figured that wasn't a smart strategy. So for the first 7 miles, my gait was off because of the elements, and for whatever reason, the way my feet were landing on the surface, my hamstrings took a brunt of the beating. And by mile 13, I forget what aid station that was that we entered, I was feeling pretty spent. And one of the things I noticed was, after we kind of were through the first 7-10 miles and we started to descend, I really did turn up the heat. So I was moving pretty fast. I haven't looked at my stats, but like, I was able to keep up with the folks around me and kind of pass a lot of people. And I don't know if because of the way that I was landing, because of the icy situation at first, for whatever reason, my hamstrings took a brunt of the force. And normally you expect to feel that in your quads or your knees, but I don't know why. Maybe it was because I wasn't like leaning in or leaning forward as much and kind of like putting the brakes on a little bit, because I was moving so fast after kind of moving so gingerly. But I really enjoyed the whole trail experience, descending in between the canyons, and following the trail, which had lots of twists and turns, very kind of wavy, perfect for like a mountain biker. But I think the learning for me was, now most of my training at most has been like 22 miles, and only a few times. And I'm noticing now, again, it's only been 2 races, is I pretty much am tapped out about that 25 mile goal. Like, as soon as I get to about 25 miles, I'm starting to feel fatigued physically, and it's becoming more of a mental challenge. I don't know if it's just in my mind or whatever. Like, I'm feeling like I need to take a breath, I need to slow down, I did stop and stretch like 6 times because my hamstrings were so tight, and those quick little brief stretches, just bending over and stretching on the mountains, really did help me be able to go. But I noticed too, like, any type of pain that I was experiencing in my feet, that felt like I wanted to take my shoes off and just run without my shoes. After like a mile or 2, it would subside. So that was interesting, because I feel a certain pain on the outside of my feet, mostly my left foot, pretty much any time after I run 10 or 11 miles. But for whatever reason, it's only when I'm trail running. So there's something with the change in the terrain that's generating that sensation. And I'm still new to this space, so I'm hoping my feet learn to accept this. But in the past, I've usually stopped or changed my sneakers when this happened. And this time, the drop bags were, I think, at Bumblebee, mile like 19-ish. My feet were still feeling pretty good, so that didn't pop up until mile 22. And then it was like, oh crap, you know, I can't change my shoes. So I had to run through it. And one of the things I would do is when I noticed I would feel the pain, I would walk. I would walk a little bit, give myself maybe a minute or two, and then try again. And so that was the way I kind of navigated that, and then eventually that kind of stopped. But the big learning for me is those wavy hills where you can't be consistent and have like a steady state running capacity going on, which is what I'm accustomed to. That's what I need to work on. So this morning I did go for an 8-mile run. Felt pretty good. Still have some residual lung issues from having COVID, having a hard time getting a deep breath in. That's something new for me. I never experienced that before COVID. So that in combination with the changing in elevation was kind of hard for me. So when I was about mile 32, I was still feeling okay. I'd run a pretty good amount of the trails thus far, anything that was flat or descending, and I did do some running on the ascents when I could, but I was pretty tapped out at mile 31, and I was ready to be done, to be honest with you. I did incorporate some nutrition into this experience, and I'm kind of learning during the running trials and errors. That's not something that I do when I'm training in the mountains, not, you know, when I'm not racing. So so that's what I'm interested in learning more about. I think I'm running out of steam because my body is hungry. And I did do some different gels. I did have electrolytes and carbohydrate drinks. Bare Nutrition is the one that I've been using now. I did eat some gingers, some oranges, but I feel like maybe that's the component that I'm missing. I'm not getting adequate fuel in my body when I'm running past that 22 miles, because that's kind of where it's showing up. Or I'm losing steam. I'm not feeling like I can actually run and put the miles in. And I'm slowing down significantly. So with that, I think I'm going to plan on a couple long runs here before my next race, which is in April. I have a 50K, so that'll be another increase in distance. I'm going to try my best to get in at least 3 long runs of like at least 30 miles between now and then, and practice my nutrition, because maybe that's the issue that I'm having. I did have to stop and go to the bathroom several times, so that was a new one for me. A little bit of stomach issues I experienced, so I like just pulled myself off the trail, tried to go, so that slowed me down a little bit. But I finished in 9 hours and 30 minutes. I want to say I was like to the middle, or I was to the front of the back of the pack in terms of finishing. And I have to say, like, all the folks that were in my circles during that journey where we passed each other back and forth, where we're not elite athletes and we're just doing this for whatever our personal goals are, everybody was so encouraging, saying good job. I think one of the things that's missing, and I know it's a sport where, you know, people are making money or whatever off of it, but there are a lot of people in the back of the pack that have incredible stories that are worth sharing. And I just want to say there was a couple folks, you know, I had an opportunity to talk to them, you know, as we're running and recovering and encouraging one another, that really are inspirational. And I think that's a missed opportunity for those organizations that are mostly showcasing the elite athletes. I think there's an opportunity to get more folks involved into the sport as a wonderful way to move their bodies and feel and learn, that they're much stronger than they think. And yeah, I hope some folks start to take notice of that and give us everyday people an opportunity to share our stories. And when I say, and I'm not meaning me, I'm just talking about the other folks that I was with, where I really felt empowered and inspired by listening to their journey. I also want to note, interestingly enough, something I did not know is there are charity bibs given out. So I want to encourage anybody listening to this that maybe doesn't have the funds to participate in a race, and they really would like to try to do that. I believe it's the Warrior Project. They offer some charity bibs. They also work with nonprofit organizations to sponsor racers, potential racers, because I really think I would like to also see more diversity in the sport. I know the 100K, the gentleman that finished second, oh man, his name's escaping me right now. He is from Mexico. He was the first Latino to win a race with the Black Canyons and the 100K, and he was an unknown person. I want to say his name's Jubilee, but that's the race director. So somehow I'm misremembering his name. But yeah, I would definitely like to see more diversity on the trails in terms of not just racial diversity, but diversity in terms of age, gender, and socioeconomic status, so that everybody can kind of feel empowered to show up as their best self, not only in the race itself, but in their relationships and other aspects of their life. Yeah, so again, finishing around the 9:30 mark. It was a longer than I expected, but to be honest with you, I didn't realize there was so much elevation in the race. If I had to do it again, I definitely would have tried some longer distance running, practice more nutrition, and after the race was over, I sat down at the ranch, at Desert Ranch, on the grass and stretched out a little bit, and then could not hardly walk the rest of the day. And I actually, the Super Bowl was going on, so when I got home, I laid on the recliner and fell asleep. Wasn't really hungry, didn't have any energy, and so like that took a lot out of me. And I've never been able to like just lay down on the recliner and fall out. So I fell asleep, and then the next morning I was pretty hungry, and I was sore. My hamstrings were sore, but my feet which had been throbbing and aching the night before, they were fully recovered. They felt great. So I did take a 2-mile stroll that evening with my hubby, just to kind of stretch them out a little bit. Did a little bit of massage therapy, just myself self-massaging. And then the next day, yes, that was on Monday. Tuesday, I hit the gym early in the morning on the treadmill. I was sore, and I didn't think that I would be able to run, but all this, I had intended to do the stair mill, but all the stair mills were taken. So I did a really extended stretch. Then I got on the treadmill, and I started really slow at like an 11-minute mile. And just because I didn't want to pull anything, just kind of testing the waters. And then I eventually sped up to a typical, like a 10-minute mile, maybe a little bit under 9 minutes for the last couple. But I put in 6. And I felt pretty good, so I was very happy with how my body bounced back. Again, thinking I have this 50-miler coming up, and then the 125-miler in May, which is kind of what I'm using these other races for, to help me with the Sedona Canyon 125, put on by Aravaipa Racing, who also hosted the 2 races I've done thus far. Yeah, so the next day, feet felt good, and then today, after those 2 little walking and a little treadmill running this morning, I went out pretty early to the 8-mile run. And yeah, I was a little bit slower. Well, actually, I can't say I was a little bit slower. I was at a typical pace for me, which was like a 9:30-ish minute mile. And to be honest with you, a year ago, I was running 11-minute miles. So it was kind of fun to see that I'm able to run a little bit faster now and feel more comfortable, but still working through, again, some lung issues from the COVID and breathing. And I had to stop like twice and just bend over and try to catch some air. But other than that, it went really well. And I just am so inspired by the elite athletes. I mean, I can't even imagine like cutting my time in half and what that would feel like. But my hopes are to continue on to increase my fitness, increase my endurance, and hopefully in the next run be able to run a little bit longer, a little bit further throughout that next 50K race. And that is the Red Rock Sedona Canyon. So it'll be a beautiful landscape. Different kind of terrain. It'll definitely be warmer, so there'll be a lot of learnings then, but my goal is to run as much of that as I can without having to stop. So anybody has any tips or suggestions, send them my way. So with that, just wanted to give you a highlight about what that was like. It was really hard, way harder than I expected. I'm so glad I didn't quit, and I'm so thankful that I didn't hurt myself or injure myself, because unfortunately some people did have to drop out. They had some DNFs because of the elements, and yeah. So I'm feeling really grateful. And for those of you that are like, oh, running's not my jam, I just encourage you to find something that brings you joy, that challenges you a little bit, to prioritize your health and well-being. And with that, I wish you all the best. Peace out, everybody.